All right, it's 5:35. I call this meeting to order. This meeting is being videotaped. And knowing that we don't have any old business, no minutes to review, and no project updates, we'll start with John Minor on the three-town shared bucket truck.
So I printed out some papers for everybody, make it easier to,
Follow along.
yeah.
We don't have
Have
to
a seat
sing,
here,
do we?
John.
Yeah. So, I think everybody knows the history on the truck. It's the truck that the three towns had purchased for, I believe it was $5,000. We paid half, Northfield paid half, and Vernon did not put up money. They put up the work and the materials to have the cab and everything, the body work done and painted. Northfield has approached us. They're buying a bigger and better truck, and they're looking to get out of the truck. They're willing to sell us the truck for $1,000. Did a little research. So to buy out, we can buy it for $1,000. The annual insurance on it would be $500. The last time the boom was inspected was a couple years ago. It was $800 from the company that Tommy used. I checked with Sunderland Highway Department. They use Cranes 101. They're actually coming to Sunderland's shop in 2 weeks, July 2nd. They charge $250 for the inspection and $151 for travel time. So it would be $400 and a little bit of change. I'm sure if we talked to Cranes 101, they would do our truck at the same time. They're at Sunderland, so maybe they would just charge the one-time travel fee and we split it with Sunderland. That would be something
That would be nice.
we'd have to check out.
At least knock the 50 cents off for only having to come through Sunderland.
Checking with Ray, the figure I got that we still have in the tree budget is $2,308. Couple of positive things about the truck is we already own two fairly new limbing saws that we've been using with it. I'm already currently certified for the bucket truck. I checked online through Cranes 101, and it's $80 for them to take a class online for any other employee that obviously we would get certified. So that's something they could do with the laptop on a rainy day or something in the shop. Currently, we're paying Jim's Tree Service $1,250 a day to come do work.
And what do we get for that $12.50 a day?
We get their bucket truck,
A couple
an
of
upper,
saws.
their equipment, and
And-
a labor guy on the ground with their chipper.
Okay, so do we own a chipper?
We own a chipper.
So that's two employees, right?
Correct.
Two employees, the bucket truck, their equipment, their chipper.
Yeah,
But we've already got the chipper, we've got two employees.
correct.
We would just need to figure out what your salary, broken down by day and,
Yep.
and benefits come out to. I know it's gonna, be less than $12.50. Cost of equipment, wear and tear on equipment.
I did check a couple other comparable prices to rent a bucket truck through state bid through the COG. The truck comes out of Worcester. It's the same size truck as what we would be purchasing. It's $1,255 a week, but you pay the mileage from Worcester to here and then here back to Worcester.
And that's just the truck, no staff?
That's just the truck,
No chipper, no staff?
nothing,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure everybody's seen them, the construction lifts, they're the four-wheel drive. Those are 1,072 a week, but the problem with those is they only go 3 miles an hour, so.
If
takes
you've
long.
got 3 miles between trees, it
Right.
takes you an hour to get there.
So, and then it's,
Better start yesterday.
It's okay if you're doing work right around the highway garage for the
Yeah.
building, but if you start leaving that, it's,
and then obviously the benefits is we can fit the truck in whenever we need it. If we were to go and rent one, you'd feel obligated to use it, and then if emergency arises, the truck sits there and you're paying for it, using it or not.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's quite a few trees in town. Many of them we can take down with that bucket truck. And just get to work with it. Like I said on the last of it, when I first started here, the way they were doing it was one guy in the bucket and a bucket loader, and obviously that's a big liability risk and big time fine, so.
Yeah. That's a compelling argument right there.
You know, and then there's many other projects around town that can be done other than just trees. I mean, they put up the flags for the holidays. You know, there's a guy standing on a ladder on the back of a pickup truck where we could just go right down the road.
That was the Memorial Committee doing
I
that,
believe,
correct? Yeah.
You know,
So we'd need to figure out a way for well, would we donate time to the Memorial Committee, or would we figure out a way for them to compensate the town, or compensate the town in part or something?
And I know
I'd
they
rather-
approached us at the beginning
Yeah.
when they got those.
Yep.
It would come in handy for fixing gutters on the various town buildings also.
Right.
Pressure washing, like the town hall.
Yep.
And quite honestly, the truck was not running good the last time we used it, but since then they put in the new injector pump. So, I mean, obviously it's running like night and day.
Yep.
And if we buy the bucket truck, there's still going to be a couple or 3 or even 4 days of contracted tree work. There are just some trees where you want a tree person taking it down because it's so close to wires or a building or
Right.
whatever, let them carry the risk.
Right. I agree with that completely. Rear-wheel drive only truck?
I believe it's 3500 GMC with the 6, whatever it is, diesel, 6.6 maybe.
The reason I wondered rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive is there just may be some places around the buildings, like if you were gonna power wash this building, there may be places where you can't get to with that bucket truck. But,
If
or-
it's dry, you should be able to.
Yeah,
Shouldn't be on the ground if it's wet anyway.
right.
As someone who's driven a four-wheel drive forever, I'll be the first one to say four-wheel drive is only designed to get you out of some place you didn't belong to begin with. So.
Yeah, right. Well, as somebody that makes deliveries with a four-wheel drive vehicle, I always go into where I need to go into wheel drive,
Yep.
slowly. If I run into a problem, then I've got the four-wheel drive and the locking rear to hopefully get me out without having to
Yep.
call somebody else.
So, we've had this come in front of us quite a bit. Never at the price of $1,000. If it had been that way, I think we probably would have approved it from the get-go. I have a two-part. One is, had it been $1,000, I would have supported it up front. And I supported it 1,000, but I'm struggling for one reason. One is that we said no, it came back, we said no, how many times? And it keeps coming back, and it almost feels like, it should have stopped by now. I'm kinda glad it didn't. I think that it's short money, buying this. As long as it's done correctly, it's short money. And to that end, I would make a motion that we purchase the truck out of the trees and forestry, and that all expenses related to the truck will come out of the trees and forestry budget. Any repairs over $350 would need prior approval. And it in no way signifies that we will always own a bucket truck.
I like
So
all
we'll
three
add-
of those
We're adding
conditions.
to that fleet, so. Doesn't mean we won't, but it doesn't mean we will automatically.
So it's a 24-year-old truck. How long do you think it's got, realistically?
I would say another 5-6 years easily. I mean, we used it quite a bit in the winters that we were able to use it. Quite honestly, I don't know what happened. The last couple of winters, we were down to 2 men, so it's kind of hard to go out and do trees with 2 guys. So we had no option to use the truck.
And being that old, are there any concerns regarding being able to get parts for repair or anything like that?
I believe those are a pretty common vehicle and motor. I mean,
Okay, just,
John might know better than I do.
The only insight that I've got that you may not have thought of just now is the rescue vehicle that we you know, that Ford Econoline, which you would think would be a relatively common vehicle, that we just had a lot of trouble getting parts for that. Fuel pump,
I'm also
And-
asking not just about the truck, but all the mechanicals
Ancillary,
that go
yeah,
with the
right.
bucket.
Well, it
and
is
the
still a
hydraulics and
VersaLift,
all
and the
that.
VersaLift is still being made
So they
today.
are, that
so
was,
yes.
yeah, I mean, I was thinking even more along those lines that, you know, I don't know if it's still an
Yep.
acceptable bucket in terms of what the standards are now, if they still support it
And
and
if
all
the
that.
truck is a 95, do you know if the
Sorry.
VersaLift is the same year?
I don't.
Because that can be coming off of that and go on to another truck.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That's something I've never,
or it could have come off another truck and gone on to
Well, that's what
that.
I'm saying, but, yeah. If the truck, we have a 1-ton, if the truck doesn't make it past 4 or 5 years, maybe it slides on to.
I believe it was an old cable truck when we purchased
Okay.
it, and those usually, there's a one-shot deal. They don't
Yeah.
change parts, they just replace
Right.
the whole
Right.
vehicle.
They buy them new and they
Yeah.
sell them whole.
Yep.
What would be helpful, I think, is maybe, you know, I'm for it just because it seems financially it makes sense. But if we could have some kind of paper trail in terms of usage and expenses in the first, you know, couple of years, just to see, so we
From here
know it.
forward, you mean?
From here
Yeah,
forward.
from here
Yeah,
forward,
yeah,
just so that
definitely.
we have an idea as to, you know, how much is it being used?
Mm-hmm.
How much is that, you know, possibly costing the town in terms of other work, if at all, it might not be. I mean, it may be that this was the top priority, that for
Well,
what
I
it's
have
being
been,
used.
just on the subject, off the subject, I have been, our files are all computerized now for the vehicles, hours, maintenance, the
That would be
prices of
great.
everything is all on there now, so.
Yeah, that would just be
Good.
helpful in terms of knowing if we're
Mhm.
moving forward, if we're really,
Yeah.
you know, what we're getting out of
Exactly.
it. Yeah, okay.
Does my motion have a second?
I will second that motion,
Okay.
Yes.
if I didn't already.
You didn't already.
I just wanted to make sure we're following through right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we've kind of moved on to,
That's fine.
Since it's been moved and seconded, and we've had some conversation, is there any further conversation? I'm not hearing any further conversation. In that case,
I guess one, maybe if
Okay.
we're gonna
Yeah,
do this, if we're doing this, it may take, I would suggest that we don't register it till July 1st with our fiscal year. Or is it better off to do it this week? Probably this week, 'cause if we do it this week, we can have the truck here, and
In Sunderland on the second.
Cranes 101 can do the inspection at the right time.
where is the truck now?
Northfield, I believe.
Northfield Highway, I think.
And payment won't happen for 2 weeks, but I'm pretty sure that won't be an issue.
You can work that out with,
We'll just send a purchase order
Yep.
that will commit the funds from this year's budget.
so between you and John, you can work through that.
Since the town registrations don't expire,
Mhm.
then registering it now doesn't really
Okay, okay.
get to it either way. The vehicle inspections. Well, again, once you get through the first short month, you're getting a full year's worth out of it, so it's just not worth thinking about.
Mhm. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Good summary, John, thank you.
All right, so we have a fire department purchase order.
They're looking for $839 to buy a RIT pack from Firematic Supply. And RIT pack is quote unquote basically a bottle we have a regulator and mask and parts to rescue a firefighter in the case of an emergency. RIT stands for Rapid Intervention Team. All of the RIT pack gear goes into a small bag and is kept on engine 2.
Do they have one now and this is a second, or is this a replacement, or we don't know?
I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say replacement.
And somehow I thought that we had a RIT pack on one vehicle and we wanted a RIT pack on another vehicle.
It's quite
so
possible
it's-
too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know where I got that information from. It could be just completely a fantasy of mine.
Well, between you and I, we've covered the bases.
It's one or the other or the other?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no problem with it.
Fine with me.
Consensus is all right?
Consensus is good. Start signing.
I think I probably signed the wrong part.
Yeah.
Sorry, sign them both, who cares?
Want them both signed, Ray?
Sure.
Staying in order?
Yep.
You ready?
Ready.
Notice of retirement. Mickey Leclerc, as highway superintendent.
Mickey has submitted a letter announcing his intention to retire, dated June 12th. To the Select Board, it is with sadness that an agonizing conclusion has been made after months of recovery from my accident. I have made the decision and announced my intention to retire from the town of Gill as highway superintendent and firefighter. This decision does not come lightly, but must be made, as I feel that the town must move on. I have fully enjoyed my last 15 years in Gill and will miss all of those who supported me. With this announcement, I am giving the town sufficient time for a replacement to be hired. My retirement will take effect August 14th, 2019. My intention is to assist with the transition, and I ask for the Select Board's willingness to accept this offer to let me work with the administrator and new superintendent in making this transition as best as possible. I thank you all very much for allowing me to serve you and the town of Gill, a time in my life that means so very much to me. Respectfully submitted, Mitchell Leclerc, Sr.
The first line tells me that this was an agonizing conclusion for Mickey. But no, the second line tells me that it was, which is his decision to announce his intention to retire not only from the town of Gill as a highway superintendent, but also as firefighter. And I don't think Mickey would give that up very easily.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think
I'm
Mickey
sure it
would
was a
give
very-
either one up very easily.
No.
but
No.
Retiring as a firefighter. I don't think we have any choice but to accept.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen whether we accept it or not.
Yeah.
One of those things that formality to accept it with regret.
Life happens
Yeah.
and
Right,
everyone moves on.
Mm-hmm.
so,
Do I need a motion to accept, or is it consensus to accept?
Motion would be good.
so moved.
It's in the record.
Okay, second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Sorry to hear Mickey's leaving.
Mm-hmm. So,
Been a tough year, or at least the last 6 months for him.
It's been a tough year, or at least the last 6 months
Well,
for working in town.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, well, that's true too.
there's one that hasn't left. Don't get any ideas. So we need to talk about moving forward.
Moving forward and next steps. I gave you a copy of what I believe is the last time we updated the highway superintendent job description. Based on the file name, based on the file date, it was either in 2000 or 2008. I would assume that Mickey, I think, was hired in 2005,
We go 15, it's about the,
4 or 5. So certainly we want to update the job description, but not take all the time in the world to get that done. I can reach out to a bunch of towns and just get some ideas and examples.
bring them to, send them to us and we can talk about it at the next meeting for that part.
I guess I should back up one step and saying I shouldn't be presupposing and jumping to the conclusion that we're going to fill the position. But I kind of presuppose and jump to the conclusion that we're going to fill the position.
Probably a safe conclusion.
So
I think, you
Was
need
that
to have-
because with either a 2-person or 3-person highway department that there may not be the need for the same position?
more so that I don't want to automatically assume that just because it's always been a 3-person department that
That it will always
It
be a
always
3-person
will be.
department?
That being said, I'm certainly convinced that we have a need for a 3-person department.
I think the past couple of years have proved that out to me, that we need a 3-person department. Through nobody's fault of anything, but we've had a majority of time, and I don't remember the numbers. I asked you to give me some information a week or so ago. And I want to say 50%, more than 50% of the time in the last, I'm going to mess up these dates.
Probably 3 years.
3 years, we've had at least one employee out. That's not including vacations, individual illness days. This is all recovery from something or whatever.
Right.
And I think, as I said at the budget meetings, I think our roads are starting to feel it. John was just pitching the truck and mentioned that last year with 2 people, they didn't have the opportunity to get out there with a bucket truck.
Because they only had 2
Because
people.
they only had 2 people, so I think going
And
forward
that one
with 2.
didn't get past me.
Yeah.
Well, you've only got 2 people now and you want a truck?
Yeah. Well, I think, it's probably his hope there's a 3rd person
there.
somewhere.
Yes.
We've gotten by with 2
Yeah.
people, but our roads, our equipment, our buildings they're too important to just get by.
Well, the other issue is similar to the police. I mean, if we have 3 people and one's on vacation, or let's say we have 2 and one's on vacation, the other one gets sick, well, then what? At least with 3,
Got a pretty good shot of getting
you've got a
one
pretty
person to
good
come
shot
in
of at least having somebody
when
that
the
can
alarm goes
respond.
off at the
You have something happen, so
pump station or,
that's,
because that's the other, we don't think about it, but the highway department is on call
yeah.
24/7, much like police and fire. You think about it more in the winter because the storms can come, but John could get called out tonight because a tree gets blown down or somebody goes off the road and takes out a few trees.
Well, just the nature of their work, I can
Yeah.
imagine working with just 2 people, it can be
Yep.
extremely difficult, if not dangerous at times, without that 3rd person.
So, in my opinion, your presumption that we would need to fill this position is 100% correct. And I think staying with 3 is a necessity. I don't see, and I agree with, the part of me says, hey, we've done it for the last year and a half, or 3 years for 2 people.
But there is a
But it
difference
is-
between getting by
Yeah.
surviving having two
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
and thriving.
And I think, as I said, I think we're beginning to feel the fact that we've been down that much for that long.
Right, I mean, my comment about the police was, it's sort of like the cruisers. Sometimes I feel like we'd be okay with 2.5 people in the highway, but that's not
Right.
really reasonable either, so.
Mhm. Yeah, it's trying to find that .68 of a person that just
Well, you could have somebody part-time, but I still think that has its own issues.
had, yeah.
And with highway, I think it's
Yep.
probably not wise.
So. But I would like to move this along as quick as we can.
Right.
But I think getting some more job descriptions, let's try to
Get the,
do it in the
get
next
the job
meeting.
description, with any luck, flesh out newspaper ad at the same time.
Okay. And get it
Is this
started.
also the time to float the idea of some type of regionalization, which we've talked about with all departments? Fire department, police department, highway department.
Have we ever talked about it with highway? I mean, not too many towns have talked about it with highway.
I don't recall ever hearing that idea brought up.
It's an interesting thought.
I know the other two have
One
been,
thing
over many, many years.
the one thing I would point out is from many years of working with public health for regionalization and reading up on the stems for South County, regionalization does not save money. Might increase what you get for service sometimes.
Right.
But it does not necessarily save money.
Right. That's like the talk about the regionalization between Gill Montague Regional School District and Pioneer. That when we were having those discussions, it was made clear early on in those discussions that yes, there may be the potential for saving money, but that is not going to be the driving force in the conversations. It's going to be, for the money that we allot to this, what can we get for increased services and better education?
Yeah, shifting the monies around. think-
I'm not even sure we would get better services, to be honest. I mean,
No, no, neither
that
do
would
I.
have to be a study, and
And yeah,
I mean, I'm
think-
just thinking of the nature and the amount of roads and the amount of, miles of roads that we have, as well as all the things that go on in this town that get the highway department's attention is,
Yeah, yeah.
there
and
there would be 3 people here pretty much, no matter what.
For me, I don't think talking about regionalization is a bad thing. I think you can't do it at a time like this.
I only brought it up as a time to start the conversation because I know these things take time.
Yep.
And to try to say, look, we're without a highway super right now, we need to do something, let's regionalize. We could be 2 or 3 years before we've got a highway super.
Or more.
Right.
My suggestion for sort of starting that conversation, just informally and knowing it likely isn't going anywhere for anybody right now, would, I think, be at a Selectmen's Association meeting, just to throw out just an idea, maybe enough people talk about it at that meeting to say, okay, well, let's make that the topic of an upcoming association meeting. And then maybe it develops a little bit further down the road where the FERCog might put some funding toward studying what a model might look like, so that there's all of that behind-the-scenes block building for when the need does arise, more, not controlled situations, more of a more lead time situation, I think is the way to put it.
Yep.
So do we have our,
Well, I
Next
think we should,
steps?
yeah, I think we should move forward. In terms of this is obviously an old description. I'm wondering if, since Mickey has reached out, if he would want to go over this with you and possibly add or subtract or make it a little more comprehensive and updated.
Yeah.
And that would give us a starting point. in
I
terms
think
of-
that would make sense for Mickey and Ray to do
Yeah.
after Ray gets something from other towns and other examples,
Sure. And go hand in hand with
so
it.
that there's more information to,
Yeah, it'll be more of a, what's missing from this? What else do we do?
right,
And probably a few of what's not, or
Right.
what's on here that we don't do.
Well, and Mickey, I'm sure, can help out with that in terms of letting us know other towns are gonna have different, probably,
Yeah.
needs,
needs, exactly, yeah.
yeah.
I might
That we don't.
suggest that we forward it to the two employees that are left at the highway department as well. What do you think, the superintendent? Does this sound like what the person should
You
be?
mean as it gets fleshed out, or do you mean
Even
forward
starting
this
now.
and the?
Yeah,
as
just
it-
start
It's just
now.
forward this and the-
information
I know
gathering.
And the new ones, yeah.
When I had groups of employees under me and I was rebuilding job descriptions, I would often give
Yep.
people a copy of the one they were working with as well as their one-up
Mhm.
and say, make comments on it.
Yep.
And, sometimes the comments are as good as the comments are gonna be. But, sometimes you get some very good information out of there as well.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we've got a couple of resources there that we can use.
It's the opportunity to write the correct, if there is ever such thing, the correct job description, because you're not trying to change anyone's position at this point.
Right. There's nobody in that position that's gonna get their nose bent or, there's nobody that we're targeting, there's nobody that, anything.
Yeah, I would be curious to, because it sounds like it's pretty old, what kind of qualifications, are two highway people that are already in there would be thinking about in terms of, I don't know these things. I don't
Yeah.
even know
What are the
what kind of
licenses that you need?
what kind of licenses and qualifications one would need, so that's,
Be willing to hire from within?
I think it's open to anything at this
Would be-
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're just getting started, but we have to get the information first to see what we,
Right.
yeah.
Well, again, for instance, we have here a CDL Class 2 and a hoisting license. I know there's other licenses today, I don't even know what the plus 4G is, but probably something to do with the hoister. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bucket, and then whatever other certifications, I think you guys have had to go to special training for chainsaws right now with all that. Yeah, so that kind of stuff, all of that.
Yeah. That would be good for me, at least.
Yep. Good.
Okay. Got some next steps.
Good. You ready to move on to annual appointments?
Yep.
So you made the adjustments that
I was just gonna ask.
I see John as the assistant tree warden until highway super's filled, so I would assume the other one's all set too then.
John, you agreed to that?
Get used to it.
You're assistant tree warden.
So
highway
that time you got called in, cut a tree,
Glad you're aware of this,
that's what you were doing.
at least now.
So I'd make a motion to appoint the list
Yes,
as written.
I would second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm always amazed at how many we have in this town.
Yeah.
It's quite a few. And we thank them all for participating.
And when you consider a majority of the list is non-paid.
Exactly.
Right.
Takes a village.
I noticed that some people haven't re-upped.
They might be on somewhere else.
Just kind of looking.
We have more than 2 people on
Some-
that committee.
But some are 3-year.
Right, the 3-year
Positions.
point, so they're just up on their 3-year, that's all.
Oh,
Really?
this is
Yeah.
just reappointing
These are
those
just
whose
reappointing.
terms have expired.
Will be
Right.
expiring
So
as
they're,
of July
they're in the
1.
middle of their term.
They didn't get out of it that easy. So it's not even a comprehensive list when we say all the people
No,
who do
yeah.
things
Yeah,
for us.
that's
Got
right.
people that aren't accounted for.
Glad someone else has to keep track of whose turn it is each year.
Speaking of keeping track, was that moved, seconded, and voted on?
Yep.
Yep.
Somebody
no
wasn't
idea.
keeping track.
No idea.
You were just, you were in the zone about something else.
I was. So we have a sewer abatement.
Sewer abatement, Chris Pelletier for $62.94 metered water used to fill a hot tub.
I assume
Everything
everything's
in order as usual.
Yep.
Now, is that, the only thing I saw was it's well beyond the 30 days of the bill date.
So it's not in order.
No,
I thought the bill date was back in April, no?
it says here abatement deadline 90 days from receipt. So
Oh, 90
you got till
days.
8/14.
Okay, what I read
Yeah.
online, I thought it said 30 days. Okay, I'm good. I just want to make sure we're treating everybody the same.
Yes.
That's all.
So I would move to approve the abatement.
I'll second.
Further discussion? I've got one, well, it's
Mhm,
not
go ahead.
related to this, it's after this, we can take a
Okay.
vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can you check that website, Ray, and update as necessary?
See if
Just-
it still says 30, if it says 30 or not.
Right. Yep.
If Greg thinks it says.
Well, when I was, going over what you emailed us, I thought I saw 30.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I saw it on the website, if I just saw it,
Just
from
somewhere
what you sent us.
So one,
It may have been in the scan of the, I don't know,
that could be.
yeah. Okay.
One little oddity on sewer abatements. If you're seeking an abatement, you need to have the form in and the bill paid 30 days from the bill date.
Maybe that's what I
But
saw.
the due date is 60 days from the bill date for paying the bill. Now for, like property tax, if you're filing for an abatement, the deadline for filing the abatement form is the day the taxes are due. And I think that's where the sewer abatement started. Years ago, sewer bills were due 30 days after the bill date. And somehow that 30-day didn't work. I don't know why or how. It goes back long before me. So the bill date got shifted out to be 60 days. But we never moved
The abatement.
the abatement
Maybe we
date.
need to look at all of that.
Sewer is always a little murky, don't you think?
You won't see far.
Even George is shaking his head on that one.
Sorry. I can look in the sewer regs and see if the abatement date isn't spelled out in the sewer regs, then it's more of a policy or practice that select board as sewer commissioners can just change it. If it's coded into the regs, then you'd have to have a sewer regulation hearing in order to change it. Again, not a big deal, but just a different can of worms to open.
Don't put it high on your priority list, but we need to take a look at it probably.
We need to at least put it
Or
in
your
the list so it
assistant.
doesn't slip.
Your clerk can when we get that one hired.
That should be on the top of the list.
There you go.
More
Right up there.
transition.
A request to use the town common. The Agricultural Commission wants to have a Gill Harvest Fair, Sunday, September 22nd, from noon to 3. This is a continuation or offshoot. I don't remember what we called the 225 picnic last year on
I want to say
roughly the
harvest
same
fair,
week.
or harvest picnic.
It's Harvest something or
Yeah.
other. So they're looking to take on some of the organization of that event. The Firemen's Association will be there with food. The Friends of Gill will be there with, I think, strawberry shortcakes. And the Ag Commission is inviting just anyone in town that has a agricultural connection to bring stuff to show, bring stuff to sell.
Like a little mini farmer's market.
Mini
type.
farmer's
That'd be
market.
cool.
Is the town common large enough?
Depends on how many people
How
go.
about, how about my first answer is I certainly hope not, because that would mean
Yeah.
that it's well. So, but I think, you know, when we do this, we could authorize town common and then the areas around the monuments and any, maybe the lawn
And-
here.
Yeah. That's gonna mean people awfully close to the road, and that's a fast road. People drive too fast.
We'll know up front,
Yep.
and we
How
might be
many?
able to arrange
Uh-huh.
some blue lights that
Yeah.
help slow people down.
Yep.
Because that was one of my questions.
I-
Bathroom facilities here
Here in the church.
in
Mhm.
the church.
Mhm.
Because that harvest picnic was at the Riverside Municipal Building, and
No,
it was
the
not.
pig roast
oh,
was.
the
There was a
pig
picnic-
roast,
there was a
okay.
picnic
Right.
up here.
Different event.
Yep.
Because I was looking at an event the size of that one.
I would hope, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
I'd
wouldn't it be
thrilled.
nice?
I'd be thrilled.
Sorry, they can't do it the week before, because I'm gonna be away that weekend.
Well, if they do it the week before, I don't think I'd be able to attend at all.
No, that's, better you there than
Well, I'm not
me.
sure I can attend the 22nd either, but the 15th, I absolutely know I can't
Yeah,
attend.
no, I know I can't. I'm gonna-
I might be
Sounds like
busy dishing up chowder or something.
shoots.
John, you can be there.
Maybe I can.
So,
I don't know if I'll be
motion
dishing
or
up
what,
chowder.
what do you need, a motion or just consensus?
Yeah, consensus is fine.
Consensus.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
And then one public service announcement. This is a program at the library, Saturday, June 29th, 1 o'clock. It's Attracting Birds, Butterflies, and Other Beneficials, put on by naturalist John Root. Learn how to welcome songbirds, hummingbirds, butterflies, and other beneficial organisms to your yard and neighborhood. Free admission, supported in part by a grant from the Cultural Council.
And you know, I will say, I've been out riding my bike around Gill, because it's summer now, and I got a big smile on my face as I was riding back up Main Road and past the library, and I saw the entire bike rack filled with kids' bikes,
Nice.
with kids, I'm assuming, in the library.
Was there
No.
an event that included
No,
musicals,
it
or
just looked
happened?
like it was just kind of an ordinary
like-
day, and there were, the entire rack was filled with kids' bikes, and I'm assuming they were inside.
That's not something you see.
I know, I brought a smile to my face, so
Yeah,
I'm glad
see
that
why.
the new library is getting used,
Yeah, that's
which is really nice.
The other part of that same line, the title of the event, Attracting Birds, Butterflies, and Other Beneficials. The riverbank in Riverside had been mowed, and the Japanese knotweed was brought down to a much lower level than it was, and the milkweed sprouted nicely without the knotweed there. And same as last year with that milkweed doing well and moving on towards maturity, it would be nice to again allow that to do its thing and flower and give the monarchs, which are really in precipitous decline all over the world, food source there in that area. And if we do that year after year, maybe that will be another place that they have that they can feed, which certainly is helpful to them. So I think the early mowing that got and allowing the milkweed to grow and now allowing it to mature would, if I can just put a plug in for that.
Is that
Both with
something
you,
we
Ann.
mow, John, or does?
Yeah, that's ours.
Yep.
Get a lot of complaints from the homeowners right through that stretch.
That it's in the way and they can't
'Cause
see
hogweed
the,
gets up.
yeah, yep,
Once that's down, they probably don't care as much.
Yeah, it's that knotweed, you can't kill it.
right,
It's grown 5 feet by mid-April.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. The thing that worries me is stuff will come back again maybe by the Christmas in July, which is gonna upset people that they can't see as well because of that.
How much of it's come back already? Or when was it mowed? What, a couple weeks ago?
But it's been hard to mow, I would guess, with all the rain.
2-3 weeks?
Yeah, at least 3 weeks.
Got another 4 or 5.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it.
Yep.
But I wanted, both you and you to know the reasons for saying, hey, if we can get by without mowing that would be nice. 'Cause, milkweed is the only food source for monarchs, and monarchs are in decline. So. That's it. That's my piece.
That's all I've got.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So that ends the fun part of the meeting?
That ends,
Two questions.
Yep. that ends the fun part of the meeting.
All the positions on here are unpaid,
No.
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them,
a
though.
lot of them?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I thought I had seen somewhere that the machinery committee was dissolved, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm wrong about that. Okay. Yep. Thank you. That's it.
The machinery committee
Wait a minute.
was, what are we calling it here?
I don't know.
Machinery Advisory Committee.
Right.
Yeah, the machinery committee
There
was
it is,
dissolved
yeah.
by town meeting vote last year.
Right.
Machinery
Machinery
Advisory
Advisory
Committee.
Committee is still there.
Is a
Still
co-
And
exists.
it's on that sheet.
That's a committee that advises the select board.
Talk about
Right.
splitting hairs, huh?
Okay.
Thanks,
You know, I
George.
don't
Thanks,
have-
George.